Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 68th Annual Civil Society Conference. I see some people in the back, so I would hope that you could come a little closer. Welcome to the Peaceful Society session. A couple of announcements. First, we have interpretation available. So I'm going to put our French and our Spanish interpreters here in their native languages, or in those native languages, to inform you where to go if you need that service.
Buenos días, bienvenidos. Quisiera informarles que tenemos interpretación al español. Para obtener los audífonos, si pueden salir donde mismo se inscribieron, al final de todas las casillas, hay una que dice interpretación, ahí le pueden dar sus audífonos para que pueda escuchar en español toda la sesión.
Bonjour, donc pour les francophones, il y a aussi donc une interprétation en français disponible pour toute la session. Vous pouvez récupérer des écouteurs à l'entrée où vous êtes enregistré ou vous êtes inscrit. La dernière cabine sur la file des cabines d'inscription. Merci.
Okay, thank you. And for anyone who requires CART, real-time interpreting for hearing impairments, there will be closed captioning on the screen. So one last thing for everyone with questions, we will be taking them at designated times during the session. If you have a burning need to ask a question immediately, there will be volunteers in the audience that will be circulating, so feel free to stop them and they could write it down and it will be asked during the session. Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to a great session. Thank you all for being here. And now I would like to welcome Alejandra Castillo, CEO of the YWCA.
We can do better than that. Good morning. Very good. Or as they say in my household, buenos días. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos. The great city of Salt Lake City. I want to thank Mayor Jackie Biskupski, who has been extraordinary. She had the vision of bringing this amazing conference to Salt Lake City. And you know, a woman with a vision is someone to really fear because they make it happen. And not only did she have a vision, she made it happen. And if you were there last night, if you had the pleasure of seeing The Way of the Rain, you really saw a spectacular, not just the choir, the ballet, the lighting, the amazing performance of Robert Redford, the message. That really left us all not just thinking, but also motivated to wake up this morning and to join us. So thank you for being in this session. You're in for a treat. We want to make it informative. We want to make this session engaging. So we are going to test you. And we are going to make sure that you leave here with enough information to continue to be agents of change. Now, I am the CEO of the YWCA USA, but I'm not going to tell you about my organization. We're going to show you a very quick video so that you can learn a little bit more about the YWCA.
The challenges we face are complex, and that is exactly why our work is so vital. Our approach is bold, dynamic, intersectional. Each local YWCA works to meet the needs within their own communities, doing the day in and day out work of lasting, transformative change. And no matter how we get the job done, we're all unified around one vision of an equitable future, eliminating racism, empowering women. YWCA, celebrating 160 years of action and service.
So at YWCA, we have 210 associations around the United States, touching 2.3 million women's lives, transforming lives. But we are also a global organization. We are in 109 countries around the world. So we're delighted to be here to support this amazing conference. Now, as I said, we are going to engage you. So I'm sure you all had a nice cup of coffee. And now we're going to do a little bit of a stand-up exercise, because I want to survey this audience. By standing up, I want to ask the following questions. So stand up if you are representing an NGO, a non-governmental organization. Very good. Thank you for being here. By standing up, now you can sit down. By standing up, show if you are representing or working with a grassroots organization. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. By standing up, show us if you are representing a nation state, a provincial, or local city government. Okay, thank you for representing state and local government. And by standing up, show us if you work within the UN system or within any other civil society organization. Perfect. Thank you. As you can see, they are representatives of every walk of life, as well of every type of organization, and that is what civil society is all about. We have 4 incredible panelists today, a very eclectic group of panelists. They are all experts in their own field, and I'm going to introduce them one by one. We're going to have a robust discussion and conversation. We will stop at some point and re-engage you in a polling exercise. And at the end, we will then open up for questions from the audience. So now I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a woman who is doing some incredible work here in Salt Lake City. Samira Harnish is the founder and executive director of Women of the World. And let's show a video.
Every woman that I like, my mom, my sister, my aunt, I see myself in them. Their beautiful smile and thoughtful prayer that keep me going.
Samira is the angel from the God to come to support our as refugees.
Let's welcome Samira.
Good morning. Bonjour. Salam alaikum. Sabah al-khair. Namaste. In the war-torn Democratic Republic of Congo, Sarah had to flee for her life. The war had already killed 3 million. Sarah fled her home after being raped in front of her husband. He was killed in front of her. She had to leave some of her children behind. Hiding by day, walking by night, she carried her disabled mother and her children to a refugee camp. Sarah visited me at Women of the World after she was resettled here. She was falling behind, trying to support 4 generations with her meager earning as a babysitter. She asked for help. So Women of the World is an NGO Based in here in Salt Lake City, our mission is empowering refugee women from all nations to achieve self-reliance, economic success, and a voice in the community. Women of the world never take no for an answer. When her mother needed to go to a doctor appointment, Sarah would have to carry her up the stairs. So Women of the World partnered with the Utah Housing Authority and found her accessible housing. Going the extra mile, Women of the World found a program that would pay Sarah for the care she was already giving to her mother. This first act of Sarah's story is inspiring. It shows us that even from the trauma of war, the seed of peaceful community are planted. It is up to us to nurture those seeds, to make our communities into places where peaceful communities can thrive and grow. In order for us to grow peace, two things must happen. The first component of ensuring peaceful society happens locally. In each of our communities, when families and neighbors welcome and build the trust and integrate refugees into our communities and cities. I cannot stress enough how important it is that we create communities that embrace those who are in crisis. Women are especially important to make this happen. The diversity seeds peace and enhances our ability to solve our problems like the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The second component for helping refugees to find peace is to develop their capacity for self-reliance in their new lives. The center of all needs for the forcibly displaced is self-reliance. Self-reliance helps refugees to gain acceptance in their new homes. I've seen this again and again, and I can state without question that some of the bravest women in the world lives here in our community. Leaving no one behind by 2030 is a world-changing goal. Governments play an important role, and so do each of us. I urge you to help others to achieve their self-reliance. It is easy just to giving them a voice and being their friend. Speak to them in English. Be a resource for them. Believe me, it will pay you back 1,000 times. Lasting peace, is it really possible? The client of Women of the World, women like Sarah, went to the end of the earth to save their children, to give them an opportunity to succeed. And that inspires us to see that peace must not be impossible. Peace must not be impossible. We must be in this together to solve the problems of peace, climate change, poverty, and equality that threaten our life. The SDG give us the path. We must be as courageous as the client of Women of the World in securing the blessing of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. Sarah's second act in her life, now as a citizen of United States, is complex. Her extreme effort supporting her family contributed to her stroke. Sarah actually now is mostly blind and requires care. Some of her family rallied to her side, and Women of the World will always be in her life. Her grandson, Junior, remains the light of her life and the friendliest little boy you will ever meet, full of love of his family and innocence of a child. So Salt Lake City strives to be the place where women like Sarah can raise a child, Junior, to be his best. A place where there's opportunity are not limited by the color of the skin or the path they took to gain the content of their character. We are not there yet, but we have examples like Sarah, whose courage in the face of so much adversity strengthens our resolve to make peace possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. And we're going to hear more about the work that Samir is doing here in Salt Lake City. Allow me to introduce Mirella Dumar Frahi, Civil Society Team Leader at the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime.
Thank you, Alejandra, and good morning, Salt Lake City. I'm so pleased to be here. This is my very first time, and it's a wonderful city. It's really an example about how one would hope to see a safe city. You've seen a short video about the organization where I'm working. Did anyone get where it is? Where is it based? Okay, it's in Vienna, in Austria, Europe. So we are so pleased that we got this invitation from our colleagues from New York, the communication team. And the reason I'm here is because I have the privilege to work with civil society organization. My colleague is actually making a photo. And you've seen all the themes are very difficult. It's all about crime, about drugs, about corruption, about organized crime. And UNODC, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, is the guardian of 5 very important international treaties. 3 on drugs, the Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, and the UN Convention Against Corruption. I would like to try to focus more on the last one, maybe because it's the youngest convention, and just to explain how much its corruption really fuel all sorts of crime and also the life of so many people. The UN have been working for years in development to make sure that money and aid arrive to the poorest. But because of corruption, it went in other hands. And this is why it's really, because also of the civil society who saw these things happening, so much unfairness in their country, that they said we need an instrument to criminalize this act. It's not possible that money that was meant to build a hospital goes into few people's hands, and at the end you don't see this building, or you see something which is much lower than what were the expectation. And this is why government alone, even if they have ratified this treaty, and even if they are the owner of this treaty, they need civil society to make sure that these treaties are implemented, that the law in the country are adapted to the needs of this treaty. And the way we work in the civil society team, because we don't want to impose anything on civil society, we work with umbrella organizations. On corruption, we work with the UNCA Coalition. It's a group of 360 NGOs all over the world, and we do joint workshop. We have also the government present so that there is a constructive dialogue, because government alone cannot make the changes. We need you, civil society organization, and I'm really happy to be here. Later today, we will also present more in a workshop on the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. So I will not say anything more here, but I'm really looking forward to the conversation we will have with you. And thank you again. I'm so pleased to be here.
So as we go along, I think as the audience, I would hope that you find it interesting how we're going to weave all of these very interesting speakers, the topics that they work on, and how this all is the underbelly of either conflict or instability in communities, and how do we find solutions to bring peace. Our next speaker is Yinka Lamborghini Lawanson, founder of Saving All Lives Together, or SALT. And I believe we have a video.
Social tenor and dance soul artist Lamborghini staged his soul album launch concert at the Kirikiri Medium Security Prison, Lagos, for the benefit of hundreds of inmates who couldn't hide their excitement.
You know, it's painful to see my fellow human being live in the condition that most prisoners in Nigeria live. You know, a lot of them are waiting trials for years. A lot of them are there for minor offenses. Some of them are innocent. My most memorable and valuable moment during my SALT concert was when I saw all the prisoners kneeling down. I saw all of them kneeling down. Some of them were shedding tears when they were repeating after me.
By the time I come out of this prison, I will be a better person.
When I looked at all these thousands of prisoners kneeling in front of me, I couldn't help but cry, because I knew it was not just a concert anymore, but it was a moment of healing for these offenders, for these guys as well.
To see some of the prisoners even perform with Lamborghini on that day and they did very well, you know. So you look, I was close to tears at one point.
Thank you very much for having me today. I am standing in front of you dressed as a prison inmate on behalf of men and women, boys and girls, juveniles, who are in prisons, correctional facilities, or any form of detention in my country, Nigeria, across Africa, and all over the world. Nelson Mandela once said, "No one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jail." A nation is not measured by how it treats its highest citizens, but how it treats the lowest ones. In order for us to achieve an inclusive, sustainable society, we must leave no one behind, including our fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters who are behind bars. In order for us to achieve safe, peaceful society, we as a society collectively must be involved in the activities of prison reform. And I'm going to say this. In order for us to achieve a peaceful society, we must strengthen any form of weakness within the judiciary system, correctional institutions, and also we, the civil society members, must put an end to the stigmatization and segregation that is placed or associated with anyone returning from the prison. Because the truth is this, whether we like it or not, 80% of prisoners all over the world will eventually return back to the society. And my question to every one of you in this room today and everybody watching across the world is, what is the society doing to ensure that reintegration is possible when they come back? Thank you very much. My name is Yinka Lawanson. I'm a musician and a global prison ambassador. Lamborghini. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I just can't wait to get this discussion started. Last but not least, Manav Subodh, co-founder of 1M1B Global Senior Fellow at UC Berkeley. Allow me to show you a video.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mandav Subodh, and I represent an organization that I co-founded about 4.5 years back after 17 years of corporate career. 1M1B stands for 1 billion for 1 billion. The mission really is to activate 1 million young leaders and entrepreneurs who will create impact for 1 billion people and create sustainable societies. The central idea of 1M1B is peaceful societies can be created through innovation and entrepreneurship. The idea is migration can be controlled through entrepreneurship. The idea is conflict can be resolved using entrepreneurial action and entrepreneurship. 1M1B today exists in 2 countries. Here in the United States, we are working with inner city kids and the formerly incarcerated to create livelihood for themselves and create a business that gives them freedom. In India, we work in the rural communities, mainly in the villages of India, so that young people who are at the risk of migration, who are at the risk of conflict, can create their own jobs closer to their families and young ones, and they need not migrate if they don't want to migrate. Can they all stay peacefully with their families, have the home food, and live in harmony? In that context, we have been working for 4.5 years at the grassroots. And what the video that you just saw is a bot, is an artificial intelligence machine learning enabled bot that we just launched about 2 months back in India to address all young people who are staying in the villages of India. If you know India, about 150 million people still don't have access to credit. And one of the big challenges we faced as we enable entrepreneurship is there's no access to funding, because most of these young people and girls especially don't have a credit history. They default, their family had a bad credit track record. And because of that, even when they want to liberate themselves out of poverty through entrepreneurship and innovation, they are unable to do so. In that pursuit, we launched this AI ML-enabled platform, which takes all our learnings in the last 4.5 years, all our mentorship that we have been doing at the grassroots, and putting that all into a bot where young people can just on WhatsApp start their own business, have a conversation which will help them get a credit score, and then linkage with banks and funding. In another example, one of the areas that we are working on is water. Now, if you know 163 million Indians still don't have access to safe and clean drinking water. 500 children die every day in India due to diarrhea. We're leveraging entrepreneurship and creating water enterprises led by women who today globally spend 200 million hours every day to collect safe and drinking water. We have created enterprise, a water enterprise, which will give access to safe drinking water to millions of families out there in rural India, led by women entrepreneurs. I'll be happy to share more on these in the panel. Thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor to be speaking today. Thank you.
So we have 3 microphones, and I'm hoping that you will share them, because I know that we're going to have a pretty robust conversation. And I want to start with Mirella. Let's start with setting the stage as it relates to what are the causes of conflict or instability as it relates to corruption and crime. And I think it's important to start from there, because at times we forget that there are factors that destabilize our society. Can you give us some perspective from where you stand and what you see that causes some of these conflicts, these instabilities in society?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for this question, who looks into the root of the problem. If I have to think about one word, I would say poverty. Poverty because instability and also all the conflict that happen is because there is disparity in society. And this disparity has been growing over the year. We all know that inequality is just not solved yet, and it will take some time. Whether we look at the world, and I've been traveling in places, you know, when we speak about peaceful society and cities without conflict, there are so many cities, then you wonder how people are living in. And very often, all is due, especially in the poorest South, to corruption. I don't want to reduce it to this. Of course, there are so many other reasons, but corruption, again, fuel crime. And if there are people who ends up by trying to leave their country at whatever cost, believing traffickers that tell them a story which is not the correct one, just to, with the hope that they will find a better job somewhere else, but they end up either being used for sexual reason or working in cellars with a very low salary. All these reasons are really bringing corruption.
I'm going to push a little bit, because you said something very interesting when you introduced yourself. What happens when we're talking about corruption when there's money for a hospital and the money disappears? What happened on that side of corruption, and what can civil society do so that there's more equity in society? What does your office do, and how can we as civil society help?
Yes, what our office will do, because I know that civil society can do a lot, but let's put it at a more global level. With the UN Convention Against Corruption that entered into force in 2005, it has a real potential, because first of all, it is the only legally binding international instrument. And whatever happened in one country has repercussion in another country. We all know that the money that was used wrongly by people ends up in banks overseas or in different regions. Now, the UN Convention has a chapter which is called Asset Recovery. And just to give you an example, when the Ben Ali was hosted from Tunisia, you know, the former dictator, in less than 24 hours, Switzerland could freeze his funding. This was happening because the two countries were signatory and party of the convention. It doesn't mean that the money will come back immediately to the people who needs it most, but at least the money is secured and it doesn't go elsewhere.
So I want to thank you, because yesterday when we were planning, you mentioned that the UN is a reminder to the signature states of how important this is. Samira, I wanted to ask you, when you see the destabilizing forces around the world, and you see the displacement of women as either refugees or asylum seekers, what do you see? What are the challenges, the worries, the reality of these women?
Yeah, this is really a very strong question, I would say. You know, really, we are all looking to the world that we have like over 65 million displaced person in the world, and what I see is like we need to do something. We always blame the United Nations or blame government or whatever, but we are as people, we need to do something by talking about these issues again and again to our uncle, to our cousin, to the people, and to make it like really a goal for you to reach out to get this, to open the door for the displaced person. So when I was in Uganda for last year to visit one of the camp in there, and I see most of the time is the women that are really frustrated to get food, to feed their kids and take care of them, or to see there's a lot of way that the women being not helped by men, I will say, because their husband is worried as well. But you see, the woman, she's always thinking about their kids, nutrition and all these things. So I'm looking now, to see all this is happening, and unfortunately, our development country, they're not accepting refugee, and that's not right, So I hope we as people in here sitting in this room to get the word out and eliminate that, just think about the refugee, all of us, we know the refugee, they don't want to be a refugee or to be a burden in our country and all these things. They lost everything, but they didn't lose their dignity and their determination.
So I'm going to come back to you in a second, but let me bring in Lamborghini for a minute, because you have a very fascinating approach to a challenge that I believe every nation has. Here in the United States, criminal justice reform is something that we're grappling with and that we so desperately need. What do you see in Nigeria? What do you see happening? And how has your approach maybe moved the needle a bit?
Thank you very much for the question. Like you rightly said, it is affecting every country. But I was born and brought up in Nigeria, and being a musician at the age of 23, I discovered that there was a big, segregation and stigmatization with, prisons. No, the society don't want to get involved in it. And I don't blame the society, because the society feel they don't want to associate themselves with, quote unquote, anyone that has been to prison. But the earlier the society realized that these people will return, the better for all of us. So what I did was, being a musician, I realized I had a voice and a power, with the civil society. So I created a peaceful bridge between the society and the prison system by introducing music concerts as a form of therapy into the prisons in Nigeria, whereby I bring top celebrities, actors, actresses into the prison, to perform, speak to these prisoners. Now, when the members of the society who are their fan base are seeing that their role models and people they look up to, are beginning to associate their brand, their resources with the correctional institution, it begins to shift a place in their hearts for them to know that, okay, if my superstar can go to the prison, then I can as well do it as well. So what we now saw through my platform is members of the society, through that bridge that we built with the power of music, started getting involved in paying bail for prison inmates who are in prison for minor offenses. We started seeing, I remember when I knock on corporate doors, they tell me, oh, prison, we don't want to associate our brand with prison. But over the years, I'm talking about, this is 11 years of consistency now. Over the years, I started seeing corporate bodies now go to the prison and also look into the prison to say, what can we do? And that is a starting point. So we went from, I don't want to associate with the prison, to what can we do?
So we're going to come back but I'm going to put you on the spot. I need you to stand up.
Okay.
And no, but take the microphone. You purposely wore orange,
Yes.
and you said yesterday that orange is the universal in many ways.
Yeah, the universal.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so orange, every country has a different color. But globally, once anyone is seeing an orange, and even in our movies, the only way they can interpret that this is prison or this is somebody coming from prison or an inmate is with the orange outfit. And that's why I decided to dress in orange, representing not just Nigeria, my country, but representing prisons all over the world. Because if I fight for Nigeria alone, I'm in America right now. I will be affected by my immediate surrounding according to where I go. So it is not just about Nigeria, but about the whole world. And that's why if you look at behind me, it says, I believe in prison reform.
And I thank you for that. So, Manav, when we spoke yesterday, there was something in common that we shared. We both came from the business community, and we entered into the nonprofit sector. And we were both commiserating of how we look at the nonprofit world with a lens from the for-profit world. And we were puzzled at how in the nonprofit world, we're not allowed to test, to experiment, to look for solution in an innovative way because we're kind of penalized by the philanthropy world. And yet we want to find innovative ways, and I think you've done that. Can you tell us, I mean, you gave us an example of the water experience. Give us some more examples of what drove you to this sector, and what do you see in the sector to find peaceful solutions to the areas that we're grappling with?
Yeah, so one of my, as we spoke yesterday, when I was working in the corporate sector, I was handling innovation and entrepreneurship as my core charter. And as part of my core charter, the idea was job creation. So let's create jobs. And whenever you hear people creating jobs, it means start up your own business. And the typical way to start up your own business is the Silicon Valley style business, right? Start up, go do the hackathons, come up with a crazy idea, and start up a business. So I was, for 5 years, leading a wonderful program for over 10 million in the end, where I was doing entrepreneurship program in over 30 countries. And something that started disturbing me was, as we were doing this program, the people who I thought will participate were not there, were missing. And these were people, who really need jobs. I mean, we got some phenomenal students and early stage entrepreneurs in these nice entrepreneurship education meetings and training programs. But people from the villages were missing. People from the Mideast were missing. People from Africa were missing. And people from big universities were part of it. And that got me thinking that what will it take to get to people who really could invent a career for themselves by starting their own business. And those people are never going to reach us through the kind of programs all the big organizations and corporations were today doing. Because these people they don't have time to be in a training program because they're out there in the streets hustling. They're out there in the streets fighting for their livelihood. They cannot even spare a day to come in an entrepreneurship training program. And at that same time, the Arab Spring was happening, and youth were burning down, and we had this whole conflict. And that was a perfect time for me to really think that, do I need to really do this inside a large corporation? Can I establish 1M1B and work with young people in the Mideast who are part of the Arab Spring because they need jobs? And they were the people who were causing conflicts and unrest in the cities. But what if they were told that they can own their own destiny today? They don't need to ask for jobs from people in the government and the large corporations. They can invent a job for themselves. And with that possibility, I left my corporate career and started working on 1M1B, took the program to the Arab world, started working in testing the same Silicon Valley style methodology to the grassroots. And I was moderately successful But when you're working with the grassroots with youth, it's very different. So coming back on the question on failures and reinventing yourself, I think one of the big challenges that I faced in the nonprofit world is, I thought this is like a large corporation issue. In large corporations and all the structured organization, it's not okay to fail. You have a set process, you have set ideas, you have a set program, and go and implement it. But if you're looking at including people who have been left behind, you cannot come up with a cookie cutter approach. You need to innovate differently, even being a nonprofit. And I think that has been my biggest learning for the last 4.5 years, that can I go to the grassroots and innovate based on what is required versus what I think is required. And just because I'm coming from a large organization, I know the recipe, now you better do this. It doesn't really work at that level. And when it doesn't really work at that level, you encounter a big word called failure, right? And failure is not okay. It's not okay in a nonprofit world, even more than in a corporate world. So how do you really reinvent yourself being a nonprofit and come up with systems, method, programmatic interventions, and doing the right thing so that you can impact people? One of the big challenges working at the grassroots is everybody's worried about scale, right? What is the scale? Is it millions? Is it thousands? And sometimes it is a few hundreds. Even a few hundred people creating job is big, by the way. But this world is obsessed with scale and numbers. And when you're looking at something like creating a meaningful impact and first discovering what needs to be done, it is not scalable, believe me. You go down to the grassroots, you do the stuff, you innovate with people, and you come up with maybe something that might scale. And that takes time, that takes a lot of failure. So it has been a wonderful journey, but one of my big requests to people is that as we innovate for the people who are left behind, who are still not there in our program and interventions, can we allow ourselves to fail so that we can do stuff that has not been done before? So we can come up with impact and numbers and indicators that have not been told before. Can we come up with stories that have not been heard before? Now, those are stories of impact. And today, if you look at it, any large organization would hesitate to say, can my impact be measured in number of jobs created? Can my impact be measured in the number of entrepreneurs I've activated at the grassroots, at the bottom of the pyramid? Because that's uncool, that's hard. But if large organizations don't support that, it is very hard for small nonprofits to go on that agenda. And if we allow ourselves and our nonprofits to fail, I think we can go after all these big agendas that have not been included yet.
So you've raised a really big issue that this 90-minute discussion doesn't even allow for us to go deep. But let me hone in on one issue, which is job creation. And Lamborghini, let me bring you back in. Because yesterday you talked about why are so many young men in prison in Nigeria? Remember?
Yeah.
We talked about how technology has now accelerated the reason why many young men are in prison today. So we're gonna go back in line. Manav, you mentioned the importance of job creation, particularly for young people. I want to bring you in, Lamborghini. What's happening with young men who are are thirsty for jobs and are falling prey to corrupt practices and technology around the world that land them in prison? Give us some perspective on that.
Yeah, so first, part of the reasons why a lot of young people are in prison in Nigeria and with my little studies across the world is a lot of them lack job opportunities, first and foremost. And it is one thing not to have a job, but it's another thing to find yourself in the cyberspace that is growing rapidly with the speed of light. Now, before now, you know, if a young boy, for example, who lives in Nigeria does not have access to certain information that can influence him negatively to commit a crime, for example, cybercrime, right? Now, with the way technology is, the technology has created so much pressure, social media pressure. The young people want to feel among. Young people now also, a lot of young people, I have to say it, some of them feel entitled. They want a good life, but they are not ready to create. They are not ready to get themselves involved, to be able to get good opportunities. Because, again, what creates an opportunity, like I tell people, your value is your opportunity. The value that you possess would attract certain opportunities to you. If my friend right here saying to me, Lamborghini, there is an opportunity for music performance in my company. Because I have the value, I have the right tools to be able to perform, that is an opportunity that I can fit into. But if I am presented with an opportunity, but I don't have value, the opportunity will pass me by. So a lot of young people are in prison because of the exposure, the cyberspace. And unfortunately, our governments are not creating infrastructures. Governments are not looking down to the grassroots to build institutions that can strengthen the entire society. And when I talk about society, I'm talking about from the grassroots. We're talking about the villages, because if you strengthen the institutions in the village, the people in the village are only coming to the city to do business and go back.
So let me talk about institutions and bring Samira back in. Samira, as we talked, women, mothers, worry a lot about their children.
Yes.
And how you've seen it. You were speaking about that.
Sure, yeah.
And yesterday you spoke about, you spoke about how you're helping refugee and women who are asylum seekers here in Salt Lake City understand more and be more involved in the lives of their children before they can even contemplate issues of getting into trouble.
Sure, yeah. So one of the things is, the biggest things, of course, when the refugee come over here, there is a big challenge is the English, the language, to communicate and to find their way and all these things. I found out, that mother is not being told, let's just get out and learn English, because there isn't chances for them. So when I moved to Utah 10 years ago, I had known a couple of families that unfortunately their kid get killed or their kid are in the prison. And when I heard about it, and I said, what's the reason? The mother comes and crying for me and tell me, please help me. And when I see her, she's lost the power of parenting is because she does not speak English and she does not understand her son or her daughter speaking that language. It's a foreign language. So that's what, unfortunately, is really very sad to see her kids are already in the jail. And of course, when they are in the jail, they're going to be deported to their country. And, as a refugee to come over here, it was really hard to get to this country. And now they're going to be deported for the civil war in their country. So we need to educate the mother in the home. I know they are busy with the household and all these things. I'm talking about the women that wanted to stay home. They don't want to go to work or something like that. We are educating the women to go to work or to college and all these things. But the variety of the large women that they are in here, they're old, like 50, I'm saying old like they don't want to go to work. They just wanted to take care of their kids. And that's the age I'm talking is about 50, 60 years. So that's why in Women of the World we have intensive English that we pay to the teacher to teach those ladies in a short time, within 3 hours a day, 4 times a week, to make them to learn. They're very happy, actually. They were very happy because they don't want to pay, they don't have enough money to pay for the teacher. And that's what we do in here. Educating the mother is really important. They need to be powerful. They need to be knowing the language that their kids they talk.
So we're going to take a moment to engage the audience, and I know that Gina is in this area here. Here she is. I think you have a microphone.
I do, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you all for your questions, and thanks to Visit Salt Lake City for collecting them. Is there feedback here? Let me move. Okay, so I'd like to thank some members of the audience. I'm going to summarize some of the questions. Let's start with Samira. I think it's Devin Cohn from Refugee International and Kelly Baldwin of Hope Worldwide ask about refugees. What needs and challenges do you see for refugee immigrant children and teens? And also, what needs and assistance with respect to trafficking and the Palermo protocols can you provide insight on?
So the first question you said, is this a question there? Is it?
Yes.
No, no.
Okay.
No, that's not the question
No.
on the screen.
The first question, Gina, what did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you very well.
Gina, can you ask the question louder, please?
Yes. Which issue do you believe is necessary to creating a sustainable and inclusive, peaceful solutions?
Do you want people to answer that?
Yes. That's for the poll.
Through their phones?
Through their phones.
Okay, so let's give the directions of the phone.
Okay. So we'll get to those questions in a moment. As far as the poll, we use Mentimeter. So if everybody can go to menti.com, you just type it in your phone, and people on live stream can do this as well. So you just type menti, menti.com. If you see on the slide in here, it says menti.com, and there's a code it will ask you for. 232714 is the code for this question.
Okay.
And so when you get there, it's going to ask you, which issues do you believe are necessary to creating a more sustainable and inclusive peaceful solutions? And you don't have to, I don't think you have to include just one. Let's just take a look what the audience finds is important. And those on live stream, if you're there, you're welcome to join us.
Okay. Give it a couple more seconds. So clearly this is testing my vision. What is the purple line?
So far we have 73 people who have, now 75, job creation and social impact investments. So the first one is 30, criminal justice reform. The second one is refugee assistance. The third, which is a little obscured, that's the green line. It's hard to see here.
Great.
Social impact of drug addiction. We have crime and corruption next with 29 so far. Job creation and social impact investment, like I said, is now getting to 96. And thought leadership and entrepreneurship is 25. And you see already we have 229 now votes. So keep sending them in, 230.
Okay, so anyone want to react to these results?
So with the job creation.
Anyone on the panel want to react?
What I wanted to say is most of the time, of course, you know, when the women, they have a degree like as a doctor or engineer or lawyer, they cannot work with their degree. They have to certify and to get that job in here. So most of those ladies, I really don't like them to be going to the restaurant and washing dishes instead of using their brain, because they are really amazing. So one of the things is I do advise with that to, when they learn the English right away, they take some classes. Like we have a community colleges in here, they give classes within a short time to learn about any kind of certificate to take and go to the college. Job creation, you know, I mean, a lot of people around us, they said, I'll give you a job, but the job is, when they go in there, they get paid low hours, you know, so I mean, it's like $12 for an hour or less. That's not gonna be helping, you know, to start from zero in here in our country. That's all the social impact. Is there someone else?
Marala, I think you want to jump in.
Yes, it's really striking to see how all of you believes, which is certainly, you know, the need to give people a reason of life, and job and work is still a very important one. And I want to tell you a story why in some country people are prevented not even to reach to a job, but even to have a proper education, to be able to have a possibility to work. And here it's a bit in honor of one of our speakers from India, Mandago. I work, as you know, with civil society organization, and one of them to raise awareness about the harm of corruption in India has made of the banknote, you know, the currency which has Gandhi, which is obviously a figure for all of us, but even more powerful in India, 0 rupee, they call it. And it's the story of a grandmother who goes every week to the administration to try to find a scholarship for her son. And each time after walking kilometers, she arrives and they just tell her, what do you have for me? Finally, one day, she just saw this NGO distributing this 0 rupee. They explained to her about corruption. And then she had this banknote in her hand. When she go to see the official, she tells him, and he asks her, what do you have for me to help you with your grandchild? She said, this is the 0 rupee. This I have, this banknote. And the guy was really moved. He said, maybe I should do something for this lady. And finally, she could get at least a bit of attention, and her grandson was put in the list about those who deserve a grant. So just to say, it is really so important to have a peaceful society and inclusive society to make sure that corruption is less and less an issue that is taking away money and jobs from people.
So I like to push the envelope. In the United States, we have a Ban the Box campaign, and I'm looking at Lamborghini. We talk about job creation and opportunities, except if you've been an ex-offender, right? So the Ban the Box campaign is a campaign not to ask whether you've been an ex-offender in order to allow the reintegration.
Reintegration.
So for those who believe that job creation is a priority, are we being candid and truthful that it should apply to everybody? What would you respond?
So that is a very good question, and I'm going to do a quick exercise with everybody in the audience. Please raise your hand if you can walk into a supermarket without money in your pocket and buy anything you want. The question is, raise your hand if you can walk into a supermarket, you don't have money in your bank account, you don't have cash in your pocket, and you can buy something. Okay, one person. Please raise your hand if you can walk into any landlord or you can walk into any property and say, I want to start living in this property, but I don't have money. Please also raise your hand if
You can walk into a nice fashion boutique or store and pick up a nice pair of shoes, a nice suit, tie, shirt, and just walk away without paying them. This is the reality we live in. Job creation. The society is structured in a way that without an exchange of money, you cannot survive. And the only way you can have access to money is for you to have a job. It's either you are employed or you are innovative enough to create something that is bringing money. My grandmother used to tell me as a little child growing up, she says to me, make sure every day of your life, somebody can pick up the phone and call you for a solution. And who is that somebody? It might be a tailor. If you're a tailor, if you're a fashion designer, if you're a driver, somebody will call you and say, I'm going to the airport, can I have your car service? If you're a mechanic, if you're an engineer, somebody will call you. How can we ensure an inclusive society when the society refuses to give employment opportunity to anybody that has been in prison and is trying to reintegrate into the society? And I did an example with you. The same way none of you raised your hand is the same way they will not be able to feed. They will not be able to get a house. They will not be able to survive. And what happens at that point? They become what? Hungry. When your tummy begin to think on behalf of your brain, you know there is a problem because you just want to grab anything. So job creation is very key, and I'm pleading with everybody in the audience and anybody streaming across the world. People, brothers and sisters, I'm calling them brothers and sisters, our fathers and mothers, just so that we understand that they're a part of us when they are coming back into the society in order to ensure proper reintegration and avoid reoccurrence of the crime. We must create a space of job opportunity for them.
So we're going to, thank you. Manav, I'm going to ask the last question of you, and that is to think about, before you answer it, think about what are the myths that prevent us from really embracing this? What are the challenges, the impediments? And then after you've answered, I'm going to ask the panelists to think about 3 takeaways that you would like this audience to leave with, or 3 action items, because we need to find solutions, but this audience needs to leave with some homework, right? We don't come here just to listen. And that could be anything from donating, making sure that we vote in the next election, or anything that you want. But think about that. Let me go back to Manav. Why is this, you're in the entrepreneurial space, creating jobs. What are the impediments? And I want to make sure that this conversation is not about only money. You know, working is about dignity. It's about making sure that your family feels that you're providing for them. It's about so many different things. But why is it that we can't find those elements to create sustainable societies that can find peace, that can find dignity?
Yeah, I have 2 points to make there. Especially, I think one of the big points that came up was job creation and social impact investment. And I'll take that concept of social impact investment a little further and get into financing and get into maybe CSR funding and philanthropy funding that is available today. Now, there's so much of funding available from meaningful organizations who really want to support. But the thing that is lacking today is traceability. The thing that is lacking today is transparency. Everybody wants to contribute at the grassroots. They want to give their money. There are very meaningful people. There are people who would do anything if they know where my money is going and for what cause. And today, I think that is missing. That traceability of money is missing. How how my $1 or $10 is impacting somebody. And can we put a image of that person in front of the donor? Can we show that this is the person and this is how the lives are getting impacted by the funding that you are giving at a very small level? And then you extrapolate that concept into a very large level, and you are suddenly creating accountability of all the money that is available and showing how it has been used. And everybody wants good use of their money, either personally or as an organization. So that is very important. There's so much of financing available, loans available, but the biggest challenge today is that people don't have credit or credit record or track record. And also, you don't know where my money is going. So can we create system and processes and leverage technology? One of the things that I would urge all the nonprofits to do is leverage technology for the right reason. And one of them is creating transparency on the money flow. And once we start showing that, there's a huge amount of money that can be tapped into for the right cause by the right people. And if you look at social impact investment, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of these social impact investors. One of the person I said, do anything in the cities, don't do it in the rural areas. India has 680,000 villages, 680,000 villages. 70% of the population of India, which is over 1 billion, still stays in the villages. And we are talking about 5 cities or 6 cities. Can you do something in these 6 cities and we will fund you? Well, that's good. But where it's required really is for the 70 people to be included using technology integrated into the system. So I think that leveraging technology, creating accountability, transparency, and traceability of money is important and will be the next big thing in the next decade. And I think that is where we can make a big impact. The second point
go ahead.
I would like to make is on this whole misconception on job creation and jobs. Whenever I hear jobs as, and I've been working with a lot of young people who stay in the villages. I spend a large amount of my time in the villages and in underserved communities. My friend Kareem is there, and we are working together in the United States as well for inner city kids. One of the big things that everybody believes in, I need a great education. Of course, everybody needs a great education, and I need to be around a big city or a tier 2 city. Well, education is great, but future skills is even bigger. So what are the future skills that we can teach them outside the universities, outside the schools, which are called the 4th Industrial Revolution skill sets today? What can be taught? Instead of making young people play catch up through the education system, can we just not sort of put them right ahead by giving them skill sets that will make them employable for the jobs that are coming up, which the education system is not going to cater to? And I think that's the big opportunity, right? Second, on the aspect, we created an experiment where, we ran kind of a 3-month rapid-fire MBA kind of program on future skills in one of the village clusters. And we got about 500 people who got jobs within 100 miles radius of their village. And these are small towns. So there are a lot of jobs that exist today in automobile, in telecommunication sector, in retail sector, in banking sector. And those need to be leveraged. I think there's a huge mentality that the jobs exist towards the city, and let's move to tier 1, if not tier 2, and that's where the jobs are. You can get jobs, you can still survive at half the pay if you're closer to your family, if you can get an opportunity to come back, if not every day, but during the weekend, to stay with your family and have food. And I think those are the jobs that needs to be activated for us to really talk about job creation.
I'm going to take the privilege of the moderator, and just invite both Manav and Lamborghini to maybe work together, because I think there's a lot. This is about synergy. This is about synergy, and when we talk about demonstrating possibilities, this has been a fantastic panel about how can we showcase opportunities and success. Samira, I want to start with you. 3 things that this audience should take away, 3 things that should be action items.
Okay, that's really hard. I have a lot of them. Oh, be a friend with our new neighbors. Be a resource and guide them because they are our new neighbors. And if you, of course, you have an uncle, a rich uncle, we are really looking for funding
Or
to
rich
continue,
aunt, right?
to continue our program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Morella?
Yes, we need you. Don't leave the UN Convention to government alone. Civil society has a great role to play, even if they were not part of the work initially. We very often treaties are negotiated by member states. They are very often reluctant to have civil society having a real role, but reality then make them be aware that without civil society, the convention cannot be implemented, there cannot be a real progress in the work, and you cannot have what we are trying to have, societies, peaceful societies and development. Therefore, we have had a number of examples where civil society was not included, but at the end, in the case, for instance, of the Convention Against Corruption, the review mechanism and the participation of civil society with the invitation of the governments has been much more than expected. Over 90%, for instance, of civil society were part of the country visit of their countries in the first cycle of the UN Convention Against Corruption. This is why I would like you also to invite you, if you have the possibility, to come at noon at our workshop, where we will speak about a new review mechanism that has been adopted for the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and its 3 protocol. Thank you.
Thank you. Lamborghini?
All right. 3 things I want to beg everybody in this room to do. The first thing is, if you have your phones with you, please bring it out. Please bring out your phone. I am going to stand up right now and turn my back to you all. And my first plead, because you are the civil society today, and we're standing on this global platform, and we represent the whole world. You're going to take a picture of my back, which says, I believe in prison reform. And you're going to post it on your social media platform. When you put it on your platform, you will be able to reach out to the thousands of people that are following you. And all I want you to write on the post is, I believe in prison reform. Are you ready? Are you ready? So bring out your phone. You can post it on your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook. I believe in prison reform. That is what I want you to write. Let's do this. Are we done? Huh?
Turn this way.
Oh, okay. Are we all good now?
We're good, we're good.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And the last thing I'm going to say is, please, okay. All right. And the last thing I'm going to say is, please, let's find a place in our hearts to forgive. Because it's only with forgiveness that we can love again. Thank you very much.
Okay, now.
Okay. Yeah, please take notes. I'm going to test you out after the session. Okay, so the first one that I want, three takeaways that I would like to give you. The first one, small is the new big. You know, think small in this world which is always thinking scale. And if you can create impact at a small level, believe me, it will scale automatically. So small is the new big. Please take that as one of the takeaways. Second, you know, I think all of us need a business model. You know, we don't talk about business model in the nonprofit sector at all. We need a business model to sustain so that you can scale. We just cannot rely on external funding all the time. You need to sustain your initiative. So make sure there's a business model. Please leverage technology in a useful way so that you can scale your business model. That's point number 2. And point number 3, my favorite, is please allow failures to happen, even in the nonprofit world. You know, failures will enable us to innovate and create solutions for the people who are still left behind. Thank you.
Okay, so that no one says that the dog ate their homework, I'm going to review what your task is. So a couple of things. Donate your time, your energy, and your money. Do not abdicate your role as civil society. Leverage your social media. Forgive. Small is the new big. Remember the business model and allow failure to happen. If we can do a couple of those things, this discussion has been worthwhile. And before we leave, we actually have a little bit of a surprise, because we couldn't let Lamborghini leave without giving us a little bit of his magic, right? So I want to thank all of you for sticking it out with us, for engaging us, for being patient, and for above all, for joining us in this conversation. For the volunteers that have made this conference happen, for all of you who have traveled so many different miles, and for the conversation about peace, particularly in this world that we live in. I want to thank you. And on behalf of the YWCA, this has been a pleasure. So with that, thank you. Lamborghini, take it away.
Are you ready? So this song, I wrote this song on Monday after I arrived Salt Lake. I was having a conversation with Mr. Jeffrey Breeze, and that was on Sunday night. And my conversation with him, he inspired me so much. So I went back to my hotel room and I started composing this song I'm about to sing. I sent a rough voice to my producer in Nigeria. He made the beat, sent it back to me. And yesterday, when I got back to my hotel room, there is no studio, nothing. But I was able to use the available. What is the available? Inside my phone, there is a recorder. You know, every phone has a voice recorder. I used the voice recorder to record these vocals inside my closet in the room, sent it back to my producer in Nigeria. He mixed, mastered it, and sent it back to me. And this is the first time ever that I'll be performing the song I'm about to perform right now. And the song is called United Nations. Hit me. Turn up the volume. Everybody, let's go. Let's stand up and enjoy this music. Hey.
I'm not leaving without you. Don't you leave without me. We can shine bright together like the stars in the sky. If I fall, please pick me up. 'Cause if you fall, I'll pick you up. We are stronger together. We are one forever. 'Cause I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. I am you, you and me. Together we are united. Can you sing with me? I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. Everybody. La 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 la. Can I hear you say? Everybody sing la 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 la. Can I hear you say? We don't care where you come from, what you look like, what you speak. We don't care where you come from, what you look like, what you speak. 'Cause I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. Everybody hold your hands together. Let's do this. Woo! Together we are United Nations. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nations. Woo! La 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 la. Where are the youths in the house? Can I have the youths in the front, please? La 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 la. Come on stage if you can. Come on stage. Everybody say la 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 la. Everybody say. Cue the music. Woo! We're going to sing a cappella together. Are you ready? We're going to sing it a cappella together. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nation. Sing it one more time. Are you? You and me, together we are United Nation. Hold on. I need you to scream and let Salt Lake know that United Nation is in the building. Can I hear you scream? Now you're going to sing it like you know that we are United Nation. We have different people from all over the world right now. Are you ready? Are you ready? Now let's sing it one more time together. 1, 2, 3, go. I am you, you and me. Together we are singing. Oh. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nation.
United Nations.
Thank you very much. I love you. My name is Lamborghini. Together we are United Nation. I am you, you and me. Together we are United Nation. I'm going to make sure, like I said, it's a new song. I just composed it. I'm going to make sure I send it to the Global Communications Department, and it will be sent to everybody. And if you did a video while we were singing it, if you did a video of yourself,
we're going to shoot the video right here in Salt Lake during this conference, and we're going to release it all over the world. So if I come up to you anytime during the conference, let's do a video for this song and release it. And together, we are what? Together, we are what? God bless you all.